What up, y'all? It's your man, Abuamerican. I was asked a jiu-jitsu question. This lighting is funky with the sun behind me like this. Whatever, it's gonna have to do. Now I was asked by, I think his name is Shuaib something. Oh man, I'm sorry, bro. I forgot your name. Anyway, Shuaib said he just started Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's a white belt, of course, and that he felt like he was sucky because a guy came in off the street, untrained guy, and he couldn't tap him out. He couldn't submit him. And so he's saying, like, what am I supposed to know at my belt level and the corresponding belts afterwards. So what I'm about to say, it might vary from school to school slightly, but it's a general rule of the thumb that most schools will, it's a system and a process that, most schools will follow. This shouldn't be so controversial like my catch wrestling video. This should be pretty basic stuff and universally agreed to. I'm looking for somebody because I'm here to pick somebody up. So, starting off with the white belt. Trey, first thing, as a white belt, your entire purpose, if you will, your entire goal is just to absorb technique and the new movements that come with jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, of course, being a ground fighting style, specifically, there's going to be a lot of movements that you've never used before, like shrimping and whatnot, bridging, that you generally wouldn't use in regards to fighting another human being. So your entire focus right now is just new techniques, just learning basic techniques, basic attacks, basic escapes, basic sweeps. That's the entire intent and purpose for you right now as a white belt. Now, rolling gives you the opportunity to implement these basic attacks. But you have to remember, everybody's learning these, and some of the more advanced guys are, of course, going to know, what you are armed with in terms of your arsenal that you're coming at him with. But what it does as a white belt is it gives you an opportunity to, like, say in your head, oh my gosh, that tap was available and I missed it, so that you don't do it again. Because you're going to think about that so much. You're like, man, dang it. Oh, whatever. Gives you a chance to, like, look at different situations and where you can implement and put, into practice these very basic attacks, escapes, and sweeps. Sorry. My daughter's here, so I was just, like, looking for her. Now, that's your entire intent and purpose as a white belt. You have no other goal at this point in time. Assalamu alaikum. I'm just making a video. You have no other intent and purpose at this point in time. So really, that's your main focus. If you get to tap somebody out, cool. But if you don't, I wouldn't worry about it. You're a white belt. You're learning an entirely new fight art. And you have to remember that in order to be the hammer, you got to be the nail for a while. As crazy as that might sound, that's just the reality. Now, moving on to blue belt. A blue belt, you're now learning intermediate attacks, escapes, sweeps, reversals, and you're learning how to chain those together with your basic attacks. Basically, so that when you're attacking somebody, it's not so obvious. You've learned to put a basic attack as a lead up to an intermediate attack, or a basic attack as a lead up to a sweep, or a basic sweep into a reversal, or an escape into an attack. Basically you're learning how to chain together your basic attacks into your intermediate ones. Now, blue belt is a pretty critical phase, but I'm going to say the same thing about purple belt also. Blue belt is a critical phase because this is where you really have to, where you see a person's aptitude for, like, the martial art, basically, is jiu-jitsu itself. The person is going to spend a lot of time as a blue belt because now you have a whole ton of information and techniques to absorb, and then not only that, you have to absorb it, you have to learn how to combine these things. Sometimes some moves can't be combined, they're just a one trick pony move or whatnot. You'll learn those also, but basically now you've learned, like, new guards. You should learn intermediate guards, like maybe X guard is considered to be an intermediate guard in my book. It might be actually an advanced guard, but whatever. You're going to be learning new guards, open guards, how to play butterfly guard. Even though you have learned some basic attacks and basic sweeps from those as a white belt, now you're going to learn more advanced methodologies of implementing it as a blue belt, and you're going to spend a whole lot of time as a blue belt. This is why there's so many internet memes about, like, blue is the new black, because dudes get a blue belt and they disappear because they get frustrated for being a blue belt for the next 4 years. But there's actually that many techniques to learn as a blue belt. It actually does take quite a bit of time at blue belt, and you should probably be looking at like competing as a blue belt so you get an idea of where you're at in regards to other people. So you got to trust your coach. Next comes purple belt. Now, purple belt, like I said before, is a critical phase. But purple belt is even more critical. Why is it even more critical? Because purple belt is where you start learning like advanced guards, sweeps, attacks, counters, reversals, escapes, and whatnot. And this is where your individual style as a jiu-jitsu practitioner should come out. This is where it's like white to blue. There shouldn't be much variation between schools. Maybe the methodology they use to teach, but the techniques are generally the same no matter where you go. An arm bar is an arm bar. You're not going to find too many variations to that. And if you do, this is where you should find it, in purple belt, where you get the little tricks and the little tips and the little secrets from your coach. Purple belt is where you start learning advanced guards, De La Riva and all these other things, inverted, whatever. This is where you should be learning like your most advanced stuff as a purple belt. Purple belt, I'm not sure how much time you should spend there, but it's probably not going to be a lot, because a purple belt you should, I don't know, maybe a year or two. Actually, let me not say that. Let me not even go into that. That's up to your coach. But let's just say purple belt, this is where your individual style should be coming out, and you should be competing regularly at purple belt, so you get a very solid idea of where you stand in regards to other schools, other martial artists in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you get to develop your individual style and how to implement your techniques and tactics against another individual, especially one who doesn't know them, so that you gain consistency in your attacks, your escapes, your sweeps, your counters, and all this and whatnot. Purple belt is an exceptionally critical phase. Purple belt, you should really, really be buckling down more than ever. I wouldn't say that you shouldn't do that at every belt level, but purple belt is really a time when, if there's any sort of like mental doubt, I'm going to stick with this or whatever else, you need to cast that all aside, and you really need to focus and buckle down. Don't miss training. Don't ever miss training, but purple belt is the time when you really got to lock everything down and you got to be solid. And why do I say that? Because purple belt is the doorway to brown belt, and brown belt is the observation phase. Brown belt, you should know everything a black belt knows, but now is the phase where your coach observes you and starts looking for like gaps in certain areas of your game so that he can fill these gaps before he gives you a black belt. You should be fighting black belts on their level at brown belt, and purple belt is the lead up to that. Brown belts, like I said again, I'll say it again, is the observation phase. If you've got gaps or holes in your game, they need to be filled here, because you can't go into black, with these huge gaping holes in your jiu-jitsu game. You're a guy who can't tap anybody from the guard. You can't tap a blue belt from the guard. There's something wrong, and that gap needs to be filled. Blue belt's coming along, and you're a brown belt, and he's tapping you, and it's not like a fluke. It's a consistent thing. Something is seriously wrong. This is an intermediate level fighter tapping you out, and you've got advanced guards, attacks, escapes, and whatnot. There's something seriously wrong in that specific area where he's tapping you out, and that gap needs to be filled. So this is the observation phase. The observation phase is the lead up from what? Purple belt, where you should be learning all these advanced techniques that take you into brown belt. So brown belt, you get your brown belt, gaps are filled, boom, you go into black belt. Black belt, of course, is mastery phase, where you are mastering everything you've learned. Okay, and this is why it takes so long to get your next stripes and your next belts and your black belt with red stripes and all that stuff. This is why there's huge gaps between all of this. This is where not only does your individual style come out, but you're thinking up new crazy stuff. Look at Keenan Cornelius with all his new guards he comes up with. This is a sign of mastery. Not only has he mastered the basic jiu-jitsu and advanced jiu-jitsu, now it's come to the point where it's just your new guard, crab guard, the worm guard. I mean, dudes are coming up with these crazy guards because they're in the mastery phase of their jiu-jitsu. And this is where you should be. This doesn't mean that you need to start creating new guards and new moves and whatnot. No. But you should be so creative that jiu-jitsu has become that. It's become a martial art. It is now an art form for you. And your creativity and your mastery are coming together. And it's like, dudes are like, yo, what the heck did you just do? Dudes coming up with like triangle chokes, but not the diamond choke and whatnot. And you're catching dudes with stuff in weird ways just because you're like, you know what, let me experiment with this. And you're not afraid to end up in a bad position, escape that, and then reverse it on a dude and turn it into something completely new or completely different that was completely unexpected. That's what you should be at a black belt, the mastery phase. So, of course, like I said, this could be, I might have forgotten a few things because I'm doing this on the fly, but this is the basic foundation of every belt that you'll find at every school. From white to blue, there really shouldn't be much variation between schools. Like I said, techniques from white to blue are generally the same. You're only going to find so many different ways to do a triangle, 2 or 3 different ways, until you start getting into advanced stuff and how you enter into or set people up for a triangle. But really, a triangle is a triangle. An arm bar is an arm bar. A kimura is a kimura. There are some variations to kimuras that I know that I've never seen anyone teach. It might be something that I made up myself. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, at a white belt and a blue belt, a kimura is a kimura. So at this phase, just focus on learning basic techniques and how you can get go-to moves to those basic techniques. And at a white belt, that's a luxury. That's more of a blue belt thing. If you get go-to moves as a white belt, completely awesome. It's gonna ease your transition when you start going into different belts. But right now, don't worry about tapping dudes out. Worry about mastering the techniques that you have. When I say mastering, I don't mean black belt mastering. I mean like, what the function of a kimura is, how it works, how you can make slight variations to make it better. I knew a kimura before my coach showed up in Qatar, but he showed me advanced parts of the kimura that were like inches. I was stretching dudes' kimuras way up to the sky, and he just showed me one technique that shows like all I got to do is move it like an inch and you can tap a guy out. Then I came up with a variation to the kimura, which I can make a video on and show you, that made it even more effective, to where I could move it like a centimeter up and the dude was tapping. Usually I can tap a guy with a kimura before even moving his arm up. And you might think I'm BSing, but I'll show it to you guys. I'll actually make a video for you so you can see it. Anyway, I hope this helped. Don't get discouraged. If you listen to Renner, Gracie, and his brother, they even talk about like how age makes a difference. How like basically like a 40-year-old brown belt fighting a 19-year-old super fit white belt, it really starts to level the playing field. Because don't think that strength and physicality don't make a difference. They say technique trumps strength. That's true, but strength helps a lot. Cardio helps a lot. Don't ever think that doesn't make a difference. This is why it's a big deal when people say, purple belt taps out bodybuilder, and you see these videos going on. Strength makes a huge difference. Guys can muscle out of arm bars. There's guys, they've come in the gym, they've been these muscle-bound dudes, and you can't arm bar them. He will literally bicep curl out of an arm bar. You might think that's not possible, but it is. So what do you got to do? You got to switch your mentality. Wrist locks, chokes, ankle locks, stuff that these guys can't muscle out of. So don't get discouraged. Just because someone comes off the street, you never know what he knows. He might have a martial arts history, and just the basic dynamics of human movement, something you should be learning at a white belt, is easy for him. And so he understands that he's in danger. He doesn't know why or exactly how, but he can feel that, this isn't good, and he has the natural movement to get out of it. This is something that happened for me with jiu-jitsu. I've always been a lifelong martial artist. So for me, wrist locks, arm attacks and whatnot from stand-up, they were basically applied on the ground, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I can get out of this. So anyway, I hope this helped you. You can catch me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at Abuamerican. Any questions, concerns, contradiction, counter arguments, or whatever else, disagreements, put it in the comment section. Hit subscribe and like. I'm out.